Arturo Riera here with a legend, truly a living legend from Willie Colon Band, from the Fania All-Stars. I'm sitting with the great timbalero, Louie Romero. How are you, Louie, today?
I'm doing fine, thanks. How's it going for you?
Well, I'm so excited because today we're going to tell a little bit of your story to the world. And I know you personally. I've known you for many years. The one thing I've discovered about you and most of the great musicians in the world is, first of all, they're fans of the music, and they're also perpetual students. And I know that you're always learning and always trying to do new things. So
that is correct. Yeah.
Why don't we really start at the beginning, Louie? When did you first know that this music thing you wanted to do, you were really into?
My first true inspiration was my dad. His name was Juan Romero, and he used to work with Noto Morales, and he worked with Daniel Santos for a while. He did a lot of the club, the hotel circuit in New York. You know, he would play at the Waldorf and the Plaza and Manhattan Center, all the hotels in Manhattan. And so listening to him in the weekends when he would get a chance to practice, he was just amazing to watch. You know, he inspired me and really got me interested in, especially the timbales. I mean, he played a drum set. He played. I never saw him play hand drums. That's an interesting thing that, you know, to this very day I'm not sure whether he was able to or he just preferred not to. But yeah, so watching him play the drum set and the timbales was like just so totally inspirational for me. It got me locked into the music, not to mention the collection of records that he had put together all the years that he had been in the music business, and I guess my mom's collection as well, you know, combined. But we had all types of music in the house, and that was for me very, inspiring and made me really get to love music, because we heard all kinds of music at the house, so that was pretty amazing.
Did he want you to become a musician?
He didn't. No, he didn't really address it in that way. He just was doing his thing, you know, practicing, and basically he saw that I had interest. You know, I'm one of eight guys, right? So the other guys took up instruments as well, but I seemed to show the most interest in drumming. So I had some brothers who took saxophone and trumpet, and even one of my brothers took I believe he tried bassoon one time, which was kind of odd, but
double-reeded bassoon.
Yeah, double-reeded bassoon. Yeah, I believe it's the hardest instrument to play as far as the reeds are concerned. You know, so. But yeah, basically, I mean, just looking at my dad play and listening to all this great music in the house, you know, inspired me to take up drums.
Now, playing with all these greats as he did, you know, you mentioned Noto Morales and a few others, you probably had a lot of great musicians around your house as well, didn't you?
Oh, we had, I mean, almost every weekend there was a party going on, musicians coming in. At that time, of course, I was a little guy, you know, so I didn't really pay attention to who was coming into the house and who wasn't. All I know is that people would come in with instruments, and the parties would go on till, you know, 4 or 5 in the morning, and so yeah, there was a lot of music in the house. I mean, almost every weekend there was some kind of a gathering. Yeah.
Well, once you kind of woke up to the music and realized, wow, you know, my father is surrounded by greats, you know.
Yeah.
Who were those key influences when you were a young person that really, besides your father, motivated you and taught you the music?
Well, the other person that was a major part of my wanting to play timbal was, of course, Tito Puente. You know, at that time, you know, my dad being the musician that he was and knowing all the musicians that he did know, it was it was like a no-brainer, you know, that to have the music of Tito Puente, to have the music of Machito, to have the music of Tito Rodriguez, you know, the big bands. So at that time, I mean, this is what I was listening to, and here I was kind of like concentrating on, okay, what's different from this timbalero to the other timbalero, you know, comparing their styles and things like so that held my interest because I was getting in a good way inundated with all this great material, you know, of all these different musicians. So yeah, I mean, you know, Puente was definitely one of the major inspirations or influences in my musical career.
Today, young musicians, you know, there's a lot of videos and instructional centers and you know, things online you can join. You know, back then you were really taught by somebody.
Yeah.
Who taught you?
Well, my dad did.
So he'd actually give you lessons? And
yeah, he actually, he saw that my interest was really strong in what he was, you know, doing, with how he was performing. He was just an incredible drummer. And I think today I realize it more so than I did when I was, you know, little. I mean, when I was listening to him, looking at him practice at the house, I was like totally amazed. But now that I look back, I reflect on how incredible he really was, and how, you know, his influence on me was very, very strong. One of the people that I would compare him with is Jose Luis Quintana, Changuito. He had the chops like Changuito, you know. And again, this is something that I didn't really grasp till later on in life.
Sure.
Yeah.
So you're a young teenager, and you know you love the music.
Actually, I was like 7 years old.
7 years old.
I started playing when I was 7.
Lucky
Yeah.
kid. When did you first perform publicly?
I was 14 years old. Yeah.
And
I was living in an area in Brooklyn called Williamsburg, and about 2 blocks from where I lived was a little bar hangout. It was called Benny's Place, and I was told by my brother Carlos, who was kind of like my chaperone, and really looked out for me in all ways, you know, because dealing with the clubs, you have elements that, you know, can be somewhat dangerous, if you will, right? Or, you know, I mean, we had the drugs, we had the drinking, and here I was 14 years old, so I was underage. But during that time in New York, you could perform in the club if you were underage, if you got yourself what they call a cabaret card, right? And you could just, you know, fill out a form and tell them what your intentions are, and then they would either approve it or disapprove it. So I had the cabaret card, which would, you know, was a safety factor, so I wouldn't, you know, get arrested or, you know, or fined or whatever. So my brother would take me to this place, which was Benny's Place in the corner, and I hooked up with a trio of guitarists. And one of the things that I loved about the music in the house is, like I said, we had all types of music, and I loved the trio Los Panchos, you know. And during that time, the trios were, you know, there was trio Los Condes, trio Los Aces, there were all kinds of trios, but of course Los Panchos are very, you know, world famous. They really hit me, you know, in a very strong way, because another thing that I love to do is I love to sing. I love harmonies, you know. I did doo-wops when I was a little kid, you know, a teenager. So hearing the harmonies of Los Panchos for me was like a plus, you know, besides their beautiful guitar work, you know, and just their great singing. Anyway, so I hooked up with a group called Trio Davila, and it was like Trio Los Panchos, 3 guys with guitars and singing beautiful harmonies and, you know, really nice songs, a lot of love songs. And they found out that through my brother Carlos that you know, that I was one who liked to play timbal, and so they checked me out. They kind of gave me an audition, and they liked what I was doing, and they said, "Would you like to, play with the group? We like to have a timbalero, just backing us up." And I was, of course, excited. I was like, "Wow, man, this is my first gig," and at 14 years old, and my mom said, "Well, we approve, but Carlos needs to chaperone you to the club and bring you back, make sure everything is okay, that you're safe." And they paid me $50 for the 3 nights. I played Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So I mean, it was like $15 a night, something to that effect.
But that was big money for a 14-year-old.
Oh yeah. My mom was like, she was ecstatic. She was like really proud of me. The fact that I had this steady gig with these guys every weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And so I did that for about 2 years. I stayed with Trio Davila for about 2 years. Yeah. Then there was an incident, unfortunately, that happened in the bar where that stopped my performing there. There was some kind of a brawl, which turned out to be really bad. And so my mom said, "You're not playing there anymore. That's it."
Now, I know early in your career, you did other things. You were in the military.
Yeah, in fact, that happened like right after that 2 years with Trio Davila, because I was like 16 when I stopped. And I also actually formed my own group when I was in high school. I had a group called Los Reyes de Rimo, and there was like 14 members. It was, yeah.
Wow, that's a big band.
Yeah, it was a big band. And they were all my high school buddies. And yeah, in fact, one of the guys, Ralph Robles, was one of the original Fania All-Stars. He was on the recording of Fania All-Stars live at the Red Garter. Yeah. And he unfortunately, he passed away at a young age. He ended up with tuberculosis, and that was
that. Oh, that's tragic.
Yeah, but Ralph Robles was my trumpeter in the group Los Reyes de Rimo when I was in high school. So I had the band for about 2 years as well. After I finished my high school, which was art and design, I studied graphic arts, and I joined the Navy. I volunteered because they had the draft going due to the Vietnam War, and I didn't want to get drafted. I wanted to pick my own branch of service and pick my own career. So I joined the Navy, and I became a radarman. I studied electronics, and was in the Navy for about close to 4 years. Yeah, I was what they call a kiddie cruiser because I joined when I was 17. And so they would let you out on your 21st birthday, even though they gave me an extension because the Vietnam War was escalating. So they said, "Well, we're not letting you go for a couple more months." They held me for almost three months more than my planned stay in the service. But yeah, I did my time, with the United States Navy, and it was quite an experience. I mean,
did you play any music in the Navy? Did you?
In the Navy, I did. In my last year in service, I actually ordered a pair of timbales, if I might say. This is before LP was in existence, right? So I ordered a pair of Tito Puente timbales from Slingerland, the drum company in Chicago. And they sent them to me on the ship, and I had them on the ship because I had secret clearance, so I had access to certain areas on the ship that other people did not, and I could lock myself in a certain area of the ship and practice, and not have to worry about being disturbed. Yeah,
that's great.
Yeah, and then there were three other guys on the ship, shipmates. who were also musicians. And at the time we were stationed in Newport, Rhode Island. And somehow or other, one of the guys managed to get a gig at one of the clubs in downtown Newport. And so I was playing actually country western. I was playing drum set with a pair of timbales on the side in case they wanted to do like a little cha-cha or something like that. Yes. It was kind of a strange setup because they were mainly into country western, so that's what I was playing. I did that for just a short period of time. Then I got discharged from the Navy.
And did you jump right into the music right out of the Navy?
Pretty much so. I don't exactly remember as to how I ended up with this one group, a guy by the name of George Guzman, and he was recording for Fania at the time, but I guess through a friend, he found out that I was available, and he asked me to join his group, and I recorded 2 albums with George Guzman and his orchestra for Fania. Those were my first 2 recordings for the Fania label. Yeah, one was called Introducing George Guzman, and the other one was called En Línea, in line. Yeah. So that was like my breakthrough as far as getting into the recording field, if you will.
There were a lot of Latin labels, you know, all through the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, Tico and many others, but Fania seemed to capture that whole 60s, 70s New York scene, which, you know, today we call more salsa or salsadura, you know, kind
Right.
of more New York style.
Yeah.
And Fania, you know, really kind of defined that, along with kind of being the soundtrack for many New Yorkers of the time. You know?
But as you said, it's you know, labels like Sico and Tico and Alegre, you know, they were the foundation really of the New York sound, and Fania basically took over and you know, created their own kind of sound and marketing, if you will. Yeah.
So once you started recording, did you feel like you'd made it? Wow, I'm a recorded artist now.
It certainly was a big step.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was quite an amazing hurdle, you know, to jump over, and it was what started my entire career. You know, those 2 albums that I recorded with George Guzman, and from there is how I met up with Willie Colon and Hector Lavoe.